Hello, everyone. My name is Tim B. Green, and this is my brand new YouTube channel, my brand new channel for how to crush it. That's why it's called Crush It Club. So, though this is I'm going to speak and have guests focused mostly around business development, improving things. It will also include life because life isn't really separate from business. And if you're not doing your business well, that is the only time it becomes the dominant force in your life. So today I want to talk about something. It has just turned, whether you care or not, I'm coming at you from Amagasaki City, Japan, and it has just went past midnight. So it's technically January 2nd, but since my audience is North America, this is my first show of January 1st, 2022. My goal is to do one show every day. The reason I'm telling you this is a fundamental principle of success psychology. Now, a core principle of this show and of me is authenticity, which is why I'm wearing a nice warm robe, because this helps me save energy in an apartment that leaks heat like crazy. So I need to wear warm clothes regardless. So save the planet. So the central premise of this entire show is that we are now inundated with an enormous amount of BS, pseudoscience masquerading as science. So this show and the book reviews that I will do and all the information, I already have a lot of it on LinkedIn. So this will be video recycling plus creation of new material of my LinkedIn stuff that you can get at, I'll put the link in the description since I can't remember it exactly, but I'm Tim #BGreen. Is essentially how you'll find me on LinkedIn, which is where I do most of my activities. So the reason I have this picture here is this is a very famous picture. I went to Fushimi Inari Shrine with my girlfriend on the 29th of December. And this was a really good metaphor for success and how people tend to struggle, because what people do the most, everybody is talking about mindset these days, and mindset is super important. But again, mindset and transformation have taken on a sort of a woo-woo aspect, which has nothing to do with real science. And yet mindset is indeed a very interesting, useful scientific principle, which is certainly not new. It's just the new name for it. So the reason I loved this image is because this temple is famous for all of these gates, these orange gates called tori. And each one there, this temple is purported to have something like 1,000 of them. And given that they're literally all like this, stacked one behind the other, it's quite likely that they do have 1,000. But the reason that this picture is important is if you notice these steps are little, they're only about 3 or 4 inches high. Now, this is a fair ways up the mountain because in fact, we traveled all the way to the top of the mountain, the top of the trails where these gates go all the way up to the top. And it's a really good analogy for what people don't do. People want to get their mindset ready. They want to get their this ready, they're that ready. They'll be prepared. They'll do it tomorrow. The biggest thing people struggle with is starting immediately, which is also why I'm doing this show today and will do it every day. Public declaration is another very useful accountability. Some people say, oh, keep it a secret. Well, there's not a lot of good data to really support that. The real science says being publicly accountable or accountable to somebody is a very good way to motivate yourself. At the very least, if you fall off the wagon, if you fail or fail to act, you're not the only one who knows about it. And that's a pretty big force because of commitment and consistency, right? So commitment and consistency is something that Robert Cialdini talked about. And it essentially means you are a person of your word, that your actions, your beliefs, and your behavior match. So now that I've spit that out, now people are going to expect it, or some viewers at some point will expect I do a show every day. And if I don't, I can't fake it. I have to own it. So this is why I'm starting today. Just like these little steps, I'm not going to go crazy. This is like a small step. The reason that these steps are important is because you'd be better to do a small step every single day or every single hour for a few minutes. You'd be better to do something every single day for a short period of time than a long period of time once a week. And this gets into habit formation, right? I don't personally know anybody who says, you know, today I'm really busy. I don't have time to brush my teeth. And even the very idea of it seems ridiculous, but that's in fact what people do with a lot of their, yeah, you know, I should do that. And I know even a lot of very successful and active business people who still have trouble. And that's sort of why I specialize in this area of applying science to get people to take immediate action and to become and stay successful, to continuously strive to level up. So that's what these little stairs are about, because a small, consistent step, small, consistent action is what really, really matters. And if 20 times this year I fail to do a video, so if 20 out of 365 days this year I don't do a video, it's pretty trivial, provided once I fall off the wagon, I get back on the wagon and don't beat myself up. And we'll talk about that more later. Also, using that strategy, I have successfully been doing fitness fairly consistently for 35, 38 years. I'm starting to lose track now. Actually, we would be coming up on 40 years. Yeah, we're basically somewhere around 40 years now that I've been exercising pretty regularly. And it's based on that principle. So these tiny steps not only represent small, consistent action you should take daily, but they also are analogous to this challenge, because going to the top of this mountain, going to the top of Fushimi Inari Shrine is actually, it takes you know, a fair bit. It's nice, easy trails, but it takes you a long time to get there. And it's a great metaphor for anybody can do any challenge, because I was thinking about this as we were walking out. Anybody can do any challenge, provided the steps are made small enough, the slope is gentle enough, and or you are able to stop and rest when and if appropriate. So this whole, all the way up this mountain, they have these rest stops, because sometimes it's quite steep, sometimes it's like this, and sometimes it's like what you see here, where it's barely a slope at all, and sometimes it actually goes down. But the bottom line is, it's a big challenge, a big difference in elevation that you achieve, but anybody can do it as long as they're willing to take small steps if need be, more challenging steps if they can, but to take consistent action is what really matters. And pulling the trigger right away, as I'm doing with this video, first day of 2022 with respect to North America, is exactly what I'm talking about. Most people struggle with that single thing, is taking action immediately and consistently. They plan their projects and their business aspirations to death. And they say, yeah, you know, I just need to do a little more work. In most cases, you only need to do enough work to know the next actionable step you need to take towards a specific end goal. And a specific end goal can actually be more like a trajectory, though a lot of the research suggests the more specific it is, the more motivating it is. If you're doing it every day, you can kind of not really ignore that, but you don't have to obsess over that. You can say, every day, I'm going to do a video. That unto itself is success because it's based on frequency of time, but instead of basing it on an outcome, you're basing it on what's called a process goal. So a process goal is something that is completely within your control that you can do, which is like, again, like the stairs, ironically enough. They're the steps along the path. The outcome goal is getting to the top of the mountain. It is, in this case, inevitable because it is also in your control. But, you know, say making $1 million a year or doubling your sales is not technically a goal which we can call a process goal because you can't control the market. You can take specific steps to increase your sales and do it consistently, ideally every day or every work day. But you can't step on somebody's neck and put a gun to their head and say, buy more, right? So this is a fundamental thing in success that is sort of lacking. Everybody's focused on cheering, on being excited. And that's great for the short term, but for the long term, you just have to be, it's great to be excited, but you should be excited about what you're doing every day, or at least sufficiently motivated and enduring about doing something every day consistently. You rest if you have to, you take a break if you're really frustrated, better than quitting. You fall off the wagon, you get back on. So this is a long and short way of saying, pull the trigger now, act on your goals, take small steps consistently every single day if you can. Every weekday should actually be the minimum. Even if you're doing 5 minutes every day is better than a 1 hour once a week because it produces the formation of the habit, which reduces your need to have willpower, which is something finite. Another really important point here is based on the same research from Baumeister et al., things around ego depletion and willpower strongly suggests that having a singular priority, a singular thing that you must do when you're forming a new habit, especially a challenging one, like doing a video every day, you should, in fact, stick with one habit. If you try to do many habits or try to do many simultaneous changes of something that's challenging, likely you're just going to fail or fall off the wagon of all of them. It's just going to be too much because, according to that idea of ego depletion, your willpower is finite and gets exhausted, and that's there's a lot of strong research to support that. Judgments of judges, problem solving, in other cases where they had somebody, they found that people who had sugar, who had carbohydrates in their system, or some form of energy, but in particular, the research was based around simple carbohydrates. They ate cookies or radishes. It's a rather famous study, and found that people who had just eaten or who had glucose in their system were more likely to try harder to complete or would stay determined and continue to do a task for a puzzle that was impossible. The sugar group or the just eaten group continued substantially longer than the group that was eating radishes or nothing at all. So they've even found this with judges, that judges, if you if a judge has to make a decision that affects you, if it's whether it's parole or whatever it is, any legal decision whatsoever, judges make more complex decisions. And in particular, the research that talked about parole talked about how the judge would parole more people early in the morning and immediately after noon. So the hypothesis, and is supported, as I said, by things like the cookies and radishes ego depletion research, strongly suggests that it is in fact the carbohydrates, the amount of energy. So after somebody's eaten, they make a complex decision. Now, as a judge gets into mid-morning and afternoon, but before lunchtime, they tend to decline parole more often because it's more of a cognitive demand, which of course your brain actually uses a shocking amount of your energy store, something like 20 to 25% of the energy for your body is actually consumed by your brain, even though it's a small fraction of the total living matter that makes up your body. So it uses a disproportional amount of energy. And in fact, chess masters, while they're thinking, while they're trying to do challenging games, burn as many calories as a professional tennis player in a day. Shocking, isn't it? So that one I haven't verified, but I'm very confident about the other research because I've seen it repeatedly. And this is real research, not that pseudoscientific crap I was talking about. So have one habit, form a new habit, start it today, do it every day, or at least 5 days a week daily, until you achieve the goal. But the important thing is, besides all the things I was covered, is that it be within your immediate control. Like this, I can sit down and do the video. There's nothing preventing me from doing so. In any case, my name is Tim B. Green, and this is Crush It Club. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.